Imagine the person sitting right next to you wasn't really them. In The Thing 1982, that's the nightmare everyone faces. Deep in Antarctica, a group of researchers stumbles upon something frozen in the ice. Big mistake. What they find isn't just an alien, it's a shapeshifter. A creature that can perfectly copy any living being it infects. You, your friend, your dog, anyone. As the creature starts imitating the crew, trust completely breaks down. Nobody knows who's still human and who's already been taken over. You can't just look at someone and tell. There are no obvious signs. One moment you're talking to a teammate, the next they could turn into a monstrous, twisting mess of teeth and tentacles. And that's what makes The Thing so terrifying. It's not about jump scares, it's about paranoia. The real horror is inside your head, constantly second-guessing everyone around you. In the end, even after the alien is supposedly stopped, we're left with two survivors staring at each other in the cold, not knowing if either is still human. The monster may have been frozen once, but after that, it was thwacked and won by turning human fear and suspicion into its deadliest weapon. In the Babadook, the terror doesn't come from the bloody attacks or jump scares, it comes from the creeping weight of grief and trauma. Amelia, a widowed mother, struggles with the loss of her husband while raising her troubled son, Samuel. When a mysterious children's book about the sinister Babadook appears, their lives spiral into a nightmare. The Babadook is more than just a monster hiding in the shadows. It's a symbol of Amelia's repressed emotions, grief, and guilt. The more she tries to ignore or suppress it, the stronger and more dangerous it becomes. Samuel senses its presence early on, but adults often deny what they fear most. In the end, Amelia doesn't defeat the Babadook in the traditional sense. Instead, she confronts her inner demons and acknowledges her pain. She locks the Babadook in the basement and feeds it, symbolizing that trauma doesn't vanish, but must be managed. This unsettling resolution flips the usual horror formula. The monster wins by staying, becoming a permanent part of their lives. The Babadook leaves us with a chilling truth. Sometimes, survival means learning to live with your monsters instead of destroying them. Suppose you were cursed by something that never stops chasing you. Not fast, not loud, but always walking towards you. That's the nightmare of It Follows. Once the curse is passed to you, usually through sex, a shape-shifting entity begins its pursuit. It could look like a stranger, a friend, or even a loved one. But no matter what form it takes, it only has one goal: to kill you. You can drive far away, cross oceans, or hide in crowded places, but eventually, it will find you. It walks, always walks, but it never stops. The movie's terror isn't about sudden scares, but the slow, constant dread. The characters tried to delay the inevitable by passing the curse to someone else, yet even that solution is temporary. If the entity kills the next person, it returns to the previous target. You might not believe this, but there's no clear way to destroy it. Some attempt to trap or fight it, but nothing guarantees safety. The real horror lies in the psychological toll, the paranoia, the isolation, the constant fear that any approaching figure could mean death. In It Follows, the monster wins simply by existing. No escape, no rest. Sometimes the scariest monsters don't need to chase you, they just wait for you to press play. In The Ring, a mysterious videotape circulates filled with haunting, surreal images. A well, a faceless woman, a dying tree, and more. But watching the tape comes with a horrifying price. Exactly 7 days later, the viewer dies in a gruesome, supernatural way. The curse centers around Samara Morgan, a tormented girl with deadly psychic powers who was thrown into a well and left to die. What makes Samara's curse so terrifying is how it spreads. The only way to avoid death is to copy the tape and show it to someone else, effectively passing the curse forward. It's not about defeating the monster, it's about infecting others to save you. The cycle turns ordinary people into unwilling carriers, ensuring Samara's spirit reaches new victims endlessly. Unlike many horror villains that stalk their prey, Samara manipulates human desperation. Each new person, thinking they're escaping, becomes a part of her web, spreading her influence further and further. The monster doesn't just win, it ensures its survival by turning victims into accomplices. With every copied tape, Samara's power grows, transforming a single cursed object into a worldwide epidemic of fear. In Smile 2022, evil doesn't take the form of a classic monster. Instead, it's a curse that moves from person to person like a twisted chain letter. The creature behind it, if you can even call it that, thrives on trauma, despair, and suicide. When one victim takes their own life in front of a witness, that witness becomes the next target. Victims experience horrifying hallucinations, distorted smiles, eerie figures, and unbearable psychological torment. And the scariest part? no one believes them. The curse isolates its victims, making them look unstable or delusional, which only deepens their suffering. Every time the cycle repeats, the entity grows stronger, feeding off the emotional breakdown of its prey. The only way out? Pass it on to someone else, usually by causing another traumatic death. The curse forces victims into an impossible moral trap, suffer and die, or doom someone else to the same fate. By the end, the monster doesn't just win, it multiplies. The trauma spreads like a virus, ensuring that its horrific chain will never break. And every haunting smile is just the beginning. Imagine living in a world where just looking outside could drive you insane. That's exactly what happens in Bird Box. Invisible creatures roam the earth, and the moment someone sees them, their mind snaps, leading them to commit immediate suicide. The monsters are never shown, which somehow makes them even scarier. The story follows Mallory, played by Sandra Bullock, who tries to survive with 2 children in a world that's completely fallen apart. Everyone must blindfold themselves whenever they step outside. The tension? It's constant. You're not fighting someone you can see or touch, you're fighting your own instinct to look. Even more terrifying, the monsters don't need to attack directly. They infect the mind, making people turn against themselves. Some individuals even become fanatics, forcing others to open their eyes. You might not believe this, but that adds a whole new layer of horror. Humans turning into the monsters' allies. In the end, humanity hasn't defeated the creatures. Instead, survivors hide in protected sanctuaries, blindfolded or underground, simply avoiding them. The monsters still roam free, undefeated, proving that sometimes survival means adapting to the horror rather than conquering it. Not all monsters come from the shadows. Some come from deep beneath the earth, waiting in the darkness. In The Descent, a group of friends embarks on a caving expedition, expecting adventure and maybe a bit of danger. But what they find lurking in the unexplored cave system is far worse than anything they imagined. Humanoid, blind creatures known as crawlers. These monsters have adapted perfectly to the underground world. They hunt by sound, move swiftly through narrow tunnels, and show no mercy. As panic sets in, the group's unity collapses. The tight spaces, total darkness, and rising fear turn the women against each other. Trust breaks, sanity cracks, and the crawlers pick them off one by one. But the real horror isn't just the creatures, it's how the characters mentally unravel. Even when it seems one might escape, the trauma lingers. In some versions of the ending, survival is only a cruel illusion, with the final character trapped and hallucinating in the darkness. Physically or mentally, no one truly survives. The Descent doesn't offer hope or rescue. The monsters win because they control the environment, but more terrifyingly, they shatter the characters' minds long before delivering the final blow. Some nightmares don't just haunt you, they invite themselves into your home and refuse to leave. In Sinister, true crime writer Ellison Oswald moves his family into a new house, hoping to find inspiration for his next book. Instead, he discovers a mysterious box of old home movies in the attic. But these aren't just harmless family memories. Each reel shows a different family being brutally murdered, filmed with eerie precision. Hidden within these films is Bagul, an ancient pagan deity who feeds on the souls of children. The more Ellison watches, the deeper he falls into Bagul's trap. The films aren't just records of the past, they're gateways. Bagul uses them to infect the minds of children, luring them into his world and forcing them to murder their own families before consuming their souls. What makes Sinister so disturbing is that no matter how far you run, you can't escape. Ellison tries to flee with his family, only to realize too late that moving was part of Bagul's plan all along. The demon spreads through the films, following them from house to house like a virus. In the end, Ellison becomes just another tragic chapter in Bagul's growing collection. The monster doesn't just win, it expands its reach, one horrifying reel at a time. Which of these monsters' victories creeped you out the most?